and being just, he's just a good person. And it
That's
is
that's so important.
so, yeah, it is so rare to have everyone kind of sing someone's praises as
Yeah.
just like a stand-up person, especially in like a matchmaking position, tied affiliated to promotions. And so I really give him a lot of credit. And he's been able to open the doors to a lot of cool guys. You know, we've talked to Lamont Roach. You know, Lamont Roach is
That's
the
awesome.
champ, and he's got a fight coming up. I've spoken to you know, I was saying Jorge Linares, you know, and a lot of really exciting prospects. Elijah Garcia, he just had a fight. You know, I've been able to speak to some really incredible, the current WBC women's champ, Jessica Cobra Camara. Her wife actually fought on one of our shows. So just some like incredible people in the sport of boxing. You know, we had Brock Bess on too. So we like to get diversity in terms of guys on the media broadcasting side.
That's awesome.
And then, you know, the founder of, well, it's currently Fight TV, but what was Triller TV, Mike Weaver. Prior to that, Kevin Ioli, very, you know, well-known sports writer.
Right.
Um, so, you know, chatting with him from a journalism perspective and, you know, just getting the full diversity and scope. I chatted with, you know, Clarissa Shields coach as well. And so we try to get every side of boxing. And what a beautiful picture it paints with all the different components and people involved in that. And it's been just such a fun ride.
Yeah, you came on my radar because I know, like you said, you had Mike Weaver on the show, and I had him recently on mine as well. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I was looking up old interviews. I was like, oh shit, who is this? And then I,
yeah.
did some more deep diving. I was like, oh shit, this girl is.
What a cool guy.
Oh,
What a
he's
cool guy, right?
that dude started it
He's a
with
beast.
WWF in like WrestleMania 2, and then
He's a
like
beast.
worked all the way through 5, all the different wrestling stuff, but then also worked for Trump Sports in the 80s, which
Yeah,
back then was actually a good name to talk about, and like
yeah,
the things he was doing. And it was absolutely, yeah, all the things he's touched is like, holy shit. And he's been
yeah.
doing this for 40 years. Like he just, recently retired, and,
Hmm.
obviously best things for him in the future when it comes to whatever the hell he wants to do, because he can do whatever he
Yeah,
wants. He's done it forever.
yeah. He's a beast. He's got some
Yeah.
great stories of like Dana White doing jujitsu with him in a broom closet and stuff. And the guy's just he's awesome. So you know, and stuff like that. You know, sometimes like when I'm talking to guys that are more on that side of the world,
Hmm.
I don't really even have as much knowledge. Sometimes I feel a bit out of my depth even, you know, I'm like really trying to make sure I'm asking, you know, getting my business partners feedback on
Yeah.
questions because I'm not as familiar with that side. I don't really know the workings of that. I can talk to you about, you know, boxing and coaching and fighting and fights and all that kind of stuff, but that whole side of it is
Oh
so deep
man.
and there's so much to know and so I always find I learn a lot when I go beyond the fighters and the coaches
Yeah.
and when I start talking to you know guys behind the scenes more because I always learn something.
That's what I love so much about just, well, I've always been a fan of talking to people in general, no matter who they are, because everyone's got a fun story in them. You just got to get it out of them. But
Yeah.
like, especially when it comes to people who are competing, or even on his side, like, I mean, he's competing on like a corporate side and like the
Hmm.
backstage, and like starting a streaming service that now is like one of the biggest, best streaming services for any combat sports you will ever want. And they're trying to even go even past that. It's like,
Hmm.
it's absolutely insane.
Hmm. Yeah, it's such a cool ride. I agree with you. I mean, chatting with people is you know, sometimes you get some wild cards and surprises.
Dude, yeah.
I recently spoke to Paul Spadafora. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know who that is, and I was
Uh-uh.
like, oh, I think we might have to edit.
There are a lot of times like I'll be looking like, all right, we're like 10 or 15 in. Am I gonna make it to 20? Am I gonna make it to 30? And then
It's
somehow like you just get on that conversation about something, and it's like, oh, good, we got 40, 45, whatever it is. But yeah,
yeah, yeah. You know, you guys, I just you get people that sometimes are quite shy, and you know
yeah.
they've got like a very small, limited answer to the question. You're going, okay, okay, and then you got some guys that you know, I was talking to Ronnie Rios recently, and I was like, bless his soul, nicest guy, man. And I asked him one question, and I listened to him talk, and I'm looking at all my questions disappear. You know the feeling, right? You're going, oh, you're answering, and not in depth, but you're like brushing over all of them. So it's weird to go back, and I'm going, oh shit, I'm in trouble, you know,
Yeah.
and and having to just kind of basically go with the conversation, just listen to what is said to you and kind of like get them to expand upon that. And it's definitely a skill. So I give props to anyone who's having intelligent conversations out there in the ether, because I think there's a lot of podcasts out there that are just gobbledygook. But
And
chat,
I used to, well, sometimes I still do. I'll tell people like, listen, this is not a question answer. It's conversational because at the end of the day, like as much as I'm enjoying this, I want other people to really enjoy listening to this as well. I don't want them to be like, okay, so yes, that oh, they got an
mm-hmm,
answer. Oh, here's the next
mm-hmm,
question. Oh, okay, okay. So this person doesn't
mm-hmm.
know how to hold a conversation. They're just asking questions and they just want to like everyone can start a podcast. That's not no offense, it's not that hard. Like
It's not.
we've all done it. Everyone and their grandma has one now. But
Yeah,
it's whether you can actually hold the conversation and make it worth listening to where you're not talking over somebody, but you're also like allowing them to really like expound on whatever they're really getting into.
yeah. And I think that for me, like that, the balance between, kind of like echoing what you're saying, the balance of finding the perfect spot where you're engaging with them,
Mhm.
you're stimulating it, but you're also opening the door to make it about them, is
Yes.
it's like you kind of have to learn, and each person's line is a little bit closer to you or deeper towards them, and some people are just ready to open up and talk about themselves, and some
Yeah.
people you have to start, you know purposely hearing what's being said to you and kind of picking certain areas, and treading carefully and going a little deeper and seeing what they're willing to open up to you on, and how much you can get from them. And it's a beautiful dance, I think, having like good intelligent conversations and being a good listener. And I know podcasting, I'm sure you'd say the same, I feel like it's made me a better listener, more astute to the energy I'm receiving from someone, and hopefully a better conversationalist through that experience, and a grateful one at that, because I think anyone that gives you the time of day to chat with you, especially when they everyone's got other shit going on.
Of
So
course.
to get someone to sit down and chat with you and then leave going, oh, that was amazing. That was great. I like that. To me, I'm like, oh, that's a win right there.
Yes. So again, with Zoom, we only have so much time. I think we can maybe get both of these in. First one, I really want to get in because we started with it, we touched on it again, and we haven't touched on it since. You started as a professional singer. How did that even start? And like, what job was that your personal, like it, you obviously go back to it for the national anthem, but do you go for fun for like,
Yeah.
how did it
Yeah.
start?
So
How did you become a professional singer for your first job? Most
I know
people
it's
work
not
at a
funny.
grocery store or a restaurant. You're a professional singer.
Yeah, so hilarious. Well, I mean, it was in conjunction with other things. I was like
Ah,
every
okay.
other 14, 15-year-old. I was working in a coffee shop, and I was just weaseling my way anywhere that I could perform. So
Of
funny enough, I
course.
started in playing piano, and I played Royal Conservatory
Oh
piano, and
wow.
fucking hated it. Like
You still
it's just
play? You hate it, so you're giving
I
up.
I can sight read gently. Let's
Okay.
just say that, like a Christmas Carol or two at Christmas, and I'm like, all right, everyone settle down because I've got fucking Jingle Bells once.
Yes. I'm not playing
So
Coldplay or anybody else over here.
no, and I'm not ripping out any Bach or anything like that. So, and then I found the guitar, and I was like, oh my god, this shit's
Mm.
amazing. And
I just
I
see
had
there's a
to,
guitar behind you over there.
yeah, my old trusty's got a crack in it, but
Well, it's
I
character.
found guitar. Yeah, exactly. I'm not letting it go.
Yeah.
I found a guitar, and I was like, this is incredible. I can take this with me. It's mobile. I
Hmm.
can sing, and I can play, and I can write music, because I had I had music theory. And I came from, there's a couple of people in my family that are quite musical, and I think it just kind of hit. I found it, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I started when I was 15. I started performing because I was too young to play in the bars, so I would weasel my way into any coffee shop
Mm.
I could find, right? And I was busking by the age of like 17,
That's awesome.
playing on the street and
Yeah.
stuff. And then I started performing in like the dance indie music festival, Canmore indie music festivals, Pemberton folk music festivals, stuff like that. Just as a singer songwriter, I started opening up for bands. I started playing with bands. I started getting invited to go on small little tours with bands,
Whoa.
and then I started playing in my own band at like 19 years old, and I learned how to play like the djembe and like mandolin, and I started playing a bunch of different
Wow.
instruments. So I'd kind of have different instruments on the go, and yeah, I ended up singing at our university graduation, our high school graduation. There was just, it just sort of like, I was on the radio. I did the very first season of Canadian Idol, and I got shut down because,
Whoa,
yes, because they didn't like singer songwriters at the time. It was not popular to play a song that
that's
you wrote
uh,
on a guitar. Fast forward a couple of years, everyone's fucking
of
playing the
course.
guitar today.
Everyone's looking for him under every rock possible. Yeah.
Yep. But at that time, it was very much, early days, like pop focused. They wanted you to do covers and stuff. So I sort of I got smoked by the judges on my second one or something. They were like, yeah, boring. And I hadn't even started yet. I was just playing my intro, like, so I just loved it. And now I just do it for fun. I just do it for
Awesome.
fun. I went pretty hard. Like we put a lot of gigs, like until I was about 25. And I was like working all day, playing all night, making sure everyone was getting paid. A lot of my friends that were in the group with me got into some stuff.
Of
And
course. Yeah.
I was like your token fitness friend. I'm up in my gray sweatsuit at 8 in the morning, and I'm going, these things don't go together. So eventually life just moved on, but I do enjoy a jam session now and again for sure.
That's amazing. Who, I guess, who did you come across that people may know now? Because if you're in the world that long, you're going to run into or bump into somebody. The later you're like, oh shit, that's that person.
I've met some fucking legends actually. Like, I mean, I played in this private concert for like Petula Clark and
Oh,
downtown, the
shit.
song downtown,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and Lionel Richie.
Whoa.
And yeah, no, I met some legends. David Foster.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, I ended up training in the same gym as his daughters. Like later in the years, I was training. They were friends with my clients, and Sarah Foster was always there at the time, and I was like, I know your dad. I know your dad a long time ago, And I played private like concert for David Foster, and I ended up kind of accomplishing some cool stuff at the time. I
Are
had an
you writing,
opportunity.
are you
What's
writing
that?
a book? Because I feel like there's so much that you've touched on that you could easily have some stories to just throw together for a book.
I mean, maybe one day.
I
I
mean,
always
you've got
think
it
I'm
in
like,
you.
when it's so funny because when people I've always been one of those people that has like a million fucking things on the go,
Yeah.
and sometimes to my detriment, other times to my credit. And I always, when people ask me like, so like what do you do, I'm always just like, I feel like there's that moment from the cartoon where it's like, in SpongeBob, where it's like
Yeah.
10 minutes later, I'm still sitting there going, I don't even know where to begin, because I really don't. I try to, I kind of like the idea of like being a bit Renaissance, but you know I don't know, sometimes I'm like, would people want to read that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I've done so much Renaissance stuff as well that like there's so many stories I just need to get down. Just so
Mm,
basically, I also worry that I will get to the age of telling the exact same stories over and over again that I forget so many others that I did, and people are like, will tell the story to me. I'm like, oh shit, I did do that, didn't I? And it's like
true.
you really want to kind of get it down so that way,
Yeah, that's not
not
a
just
bad
for like
idea.
other people to read, but more or less for you, or if you ever have kids in the future, or your
That's
friends'
not a bad
kids
idea.
because you're also raising them because they're your friends. So
Mm,
you want to help get that out as well.
yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah,
Even like a voice recording kind of thing.
there you go. Yeah, something to start.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're running out of time, and I really want to get this. You're coming back on the show, basically, is what's happening. It's because there's so
Okay.
much I want to get into. Because now we live in a world where boxing is, of course, we're talking about obviously the big names and the championships that are being defended and everything. But now we're having a world where Jake Paul, Logan Paul, like we're having Mike Tyson come back. We're having, like we talked about earlier, Roy Jones Jr. come back. We're having
Mm,
these MMA guys coming into the world of boxing. We're having, you know, hell, Francis Ngannou put, the Gypsy King basically on his butt and then almost
yeah.
won a fight. And then the
Yeah.
next fight, he got, put on his butt. So it's like we're living in a weird world when it is for boxing. And I really want to get into that again later because there's no way we're getting into that right now. But
Yeah, no, and I've got some insights because I've talked to a lot of people in boxing
yeah,
about what they think about that. Everyone from like up and comers to established people that have belts, and everyone in between. And it's interesting getting everyone's perspective. And I've been slowly, I think, tweaking my own jump to conclusion that I had about it. So yeah, boxing is a landscape that is changing right now.
Yeah. With